Welcome to another episode of Power On, the Reinhausen Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Very, and I'm the General Manager of Reinhausen Manufacturing. Joining me today is Peter Novak, the Managing Director at KOLEKTOR ETRA out of Slovenia, and Sebastian Hilmer, Head of OEM Cooperations at Reinhausen. So thank you both so much for joining us today. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll start out with some questions. First, a little bit on background. So for Sebastian, could you start by telling us a little about yourself and your role at MR? We're also keen to know what are the main reasons for MR to set up a specialized team that focuses exclusively on cooperation with OEMs.
I started at MR 7 years ago. Before that, I have been doing automotive and consulting. Since my start, I've been very keen on using the potential that is in digitalization. And I've also been keen on optimizing processes.
Okay.
What we have seen is 2 years ago, but also, let's say, some time before, that there is a growing demand for digital transformers. And that is, on the one hand, it's a potential for the end customers, but also for transformer manufacturers. If you have a look at transformer manufacturers like KOLEKTOR ETRA, for them, it's both. On the one hand, it's a big potential, but it's also, let's say, a lot of processes are involved, and you have to do it in a good way so it's easy, so it doesn't get that difficult. And that's why we at MR decided 2 years ago to start this department for cooperations with transformer manufacturer to make it as easy as possible to equip their transformers with digital tools and, let's say, what we call ethos at MR, for example.
Yep.
And this is what we're doing.
Now, did you have experience in OEM cooperation in the automotive side, or was this something new for you?
Basically, not directly with such kind of cooperations, but really optimizing the processes. So having a look at what are the suppliers and customers doing, end-to-end supply chain, really have a look at from the beginning to the end. Yeah.
So that helps you in just understanding Peter's processes as he goes through and works through getting transformers out to the industry.
Basically, I was doing the same on the supplier side at MR before,
Gotcha.
Using the tools at suppliers, and now I'm doing it at the customer side.
It's a really great foundation for what you're doing today. Peter, maybe you can introduce yourself briefly and also talk about KOLEKTOR ETRA and a little bit of details about the company.
So I started working in KOLEKTOR ETRA in 1997, so it's more than a quarter of a century ago.
Quite a while, yeah.
Yes. At that time, actually, the name of the company was still Energoinvest, name which was a historical, so to say. We were a part of big group in former Yugoslavia, but then Yugoslavia fell apart. Slovenia became independent, and also KOLEKTOR ETRA, that time was a part of Energoinvest, became independent.
Okay.
And so this was a sort of new start for it, because before we were selling mostly to the third markets, to non-aligned countries and so on, and to Balkan countries.
Sure.
Then after I came, I said we shall change the philosophy.
Yeah.
We shall start to sell high quality products for demanding customers. And that's why we oriented ourselves first to Scandinavia. These were our first strong exporting markets. And later on, Scandinavia became, let's say, too small because the market share was big enough that we could not expect higher growth. And that's why we turned to other European countries. Today, our biggest market is Germany. Then fastest growing market today for us is France. And we are very stable in United Kingdom. And beside this, Austria, Switzerland, and other European countries are our markets. The development went completely different direction as before. And in 2010, KOLEKTOR bought a majority of shares. And from 2010 further, we called ourselves KOLEKTOR ETRA.
Now, did you find there was a lot of challenges in moving from a regional supplier to more of a European supplier in the transformer industry?
Yeah, I think this was a changing of mindset in a company. So when we moved to most demanding customers, the philosophy of the company needed to be changed for high quality process, high quality products, and also high quality suppliers.
So really pivoted the company to something focused more on quality to meet the demands of higher demanding customers.
Exactly. So the orientation was completely different.
So maybe another question for you, Peter. Digitalization of transformers is a big topic for you and your customers. What was the motivation to enter into a cooperation with MR? And did you choose the cooperation to be a leader in digitalization of transformers, or did you want to focus on simplifying processes with MR?
Digitalization generally is something what is going on all around us, and we cannot stop it. So transformer is very traditional product, basically. And that's why many electro engineers would say, oh, it shall last 40 years, so we shall not digitize it, because digital parts, and especially software, usually don't last more than maybe 10 years. On the other hand, everybody wants more and more data. Mm-hmm. They want more and more data also from transformers. So we need to provide it.
Yeah.
And we started actually first with our own development, with our daughter company who developed a monitoring system. But later on, we found out that this development must be faster, must be quicker, with more potential.
Right.
And that's why we started also the cooperation with MR.
So really, this was the direction you were heading as a company, but this allowed you to accelerate it with the cooperation of MR.
Yeah, we can say so. So we started pretty much before this cooperation regarding digitalization.
Yeah.
So we are cooperating with MR for whole period, I remember.
Yeah.
But not in this part. The monitoring we started by ourselves after we found some customers who asked for it. But later on, we found out that to develop a good monitoring, to really have a good software and to have also a proper hardware which will fit to the transformer, you need a lot of knowledge and also great team.
Yeah.
Which is more or less, I would say, impossible to be developed by one single producer, as we are, who is not the biggest one in the world.
Yeah. So it's really ability to leverage our scale that helped you do this faster. So question for you, Sebastian, how did you both first meet, and what were the circumstances that led to this fruitful cooperation?
Basically, as Peter said, we have a long, successful history of working together, and KOLEKTOR ETRA, even before the cooperation, had a lot of ETRA system in use. So let's say there was a lot of transformers already equipped with communication and some intelligence. And that was basically the basis where we said, okay, that makes sense to really use this potential and include more functions. And with this in mind, me and my team came to KOLEKTOR ETRA to Ljubljana and visited Peter and his team.
When you look at that from your side, Peter, what have been the first steps in entering into the cooperation? And also, what expectations did you have on the beginning of the cooperation, and what is your impression right now?
We found out that the knowledge needed to really make a good software and a good system, for such a knowledge, you need a great team,
right?
Much bigger than we could afford in our company. Mm-hmm. So we said, okay, we have some basic knowledge. We know what do we want, but to develop it together with somebody who will specialize a team for developing this product could be much more effective, much faster. And at the end, the customer should be more satisfied. If they will be or not, we will see in the future.
What's your impression right now, though? How do you feel it's gone so far? Do you feel it's gone exactly the way you wanted it to, or some things you would change?
So actually, we started these discussions 2 years ago, and we needed more than 1 year to clarify what do we expect from each other. Which first, maybe I know that people from MR were a little bit disappointed because it didn't go so fast as they expected. Sebastian, if you feel the same. But at the end, I think it was good. Because today we have a very clear contract, very clear agreement. What do we expect from each other? And this is better for both of us and also for end customer. It's not a problem if everything goes well.
Right.
But the problem is when something goes wrong. And then it's important who will do something, who will respond on customer questions, who will do the first step and who will finalize the solution. The customer needs to be happy at the end. And we need to make them happy together. And that's the most important.
And that's why it's called a cooperation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So which internal departments have been involved, Peter, and which needs did each of them have? So looking at all the different stakeholders that you had within KOLEKTOR ETRA, who was involved and what did they need from that process?
So it started actually with product managers, people who are in charge for cooperation with the MR regarding tap changers and other equipments. Then we simply found out, of course, purchasing department must be involved because of the contractual obligations and the relation. Then further, through the education, we went further to the sales team because they need to know what we offer with this solution. So actually they are, I would say, prolonged hand of MR.
Right.
They're selling the project which was developed by MR, so they need to have enough knowledge to sell it, and not at the end also marketing. So how to make a package together with transformer that the customer feel that we make it together and together we are better than each one alone.
Right. So pretty much most of the critical departments within the organization were involved.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Now, what challenges did the new collaboration entail and how were they overcome?
For me, if I'm very direct, the biggest challenge was if there is a claim, who will solve it? To whom the customer shall turn? What shall be the procedures? Because as I said, if everything is fine, if everything works, everybody's happy.
Right.
The difference between good suppliers and bad suppliers is when something goes wrong. And for me, this was the most challenging. How we will react, both of us, who will do the first step, who will do the second step, who is responsible for this.
Yeah.
If we solve this, then I believe we can make a good business in the future.
And how would you assess those challenges, Sebastian, looking at it from your side?
The service topic was a topic that we have a lot of discussions about because it's very important, as Peter said. And this also, let's say, led into something like the training for the service department. So the service department of KOLEKTOR ETRA will be in our internal training center in January next year to really also not only talk about the process and who is responsible, but despite of that, also give them all the tools that everyone is trained as well as possible. Yes.
Yeah, and that's so I think about that's vital so that you can be out there with the customers and actually understand what you're doing when you're out there in the field with customers on issues.
Yeah, actually, more than we know about the product, more people inside the company knows how to handle it.
Absolutely.
Better can be the service.
Absolutely.
And this is important. So I really like that this training procedure MR developed very good.
Yeah.
So with different type of people in different time of process, at the end also on different places.
Right.
So some trainings were done inside KOLEKTOR ETRA,
Yeah.
and some trainings will be done inside MR to be more, let's say, to touch the product.
Peter, I remember that you have been very keen on having packages for your customers. Can you tell us what is the benefit for you, but also the end customers to have those packages?
It happens quite often that some customers come to us and say, we would like to have some digitalization.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really know what to order. There are, of course, some big customers who make exact prescription, exact tender, but not all of them have such a knowledge. So when they come, they expect us to suggest something. I didn't like that each sales guy would suggest something different. So it must be somehow standardized.
Yeah.
And that was the reason that we made these packages. Of course, together with MR, we decided what would be most frequently asked for. And we did 3 different packages. And until now, I believe we made the right thing. But of course, through the time, it will change, I'm sure.
Well, I know we talked a bit about training, and I think about the amount of engagement you've had, whether it's your engineers at KOLEKTOR ETRA or your salespeople, your marketing people. How do you feel they're able to now engage customers today versus, say, 6 months ago on discussions related to digitalized transformers? Is it 10% better? Is it 100% better? Or that, have you seen a fairly significant change in how they engage customers?
Maybe the time which passed is not long enough to give a very clear and good answer to this.
Yeah.
We are now still in a process of education, our team also in a process to present what we did together. Let's say at the beginning of December this year, we will have a classical KOLEKTOR ETRA seminar for all our Slovenian customers, where one of the topic will be also presentation of these packages. Mm-hmm. We sold some monitoring to Slovenian customers already in the past, but never so structured as we would like to do in the future.
I see.
So it's a process of education of our people and also our customers.
Okay. And you expect that to continue to grow over time?
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask it of both of you. I'll start with you, Sebastian, first. What specific stories can you share in which the collaboration between the two companies has made significant progress?
I really like what we did in the summer this year. I think it was in June in Ljubljana, where we brought together the engineering department of MR, or part of it, and the engineering and also sales of KOLEKTOR ETRA. And we have been there for, I think it was 4 days. And the first 2 days, we have really together analyzed the whole process that is occurring when, let's say, KOLEKTOR ETRA is starting an offer from MR, or the end customer is asking for an offer at KOLEKTOR ETRA, ETRA and asks for an offer at MR, and the whole process until when the product is delivered and, let's say, service is happening. It was really interesting because we used several meters of the wall to really write down the whole process. And it was very funny because it took us a lot of time. It took us a lot of discussion to really make it transparent, to really understand how it's really going on. And because it's not always in reality, like Peter said, it's like you would think about it. And it was also very fun because in the evening after this very intense day, we then all together watched the public viewing in Ljubljana soccer team. It was very funny together, yeah.
Anything to add on your side as far as stories?
Maybe I would not touch so much the story, but what we learned from this process, I would say that the process optimization, which has been done together with both teams, brought also to us some ideas how to make it faster, quicker, more effective, cheaper for the customer at the end. And on the other hand, that what we are more and more discussing about supply chain, that this is becoming more and more important. So to have a partner who you can trust and develop some benefit for the end customer together.
Right. Very important question is on this soccer match. Did the right team win the game?
Slovenia guys cheered also for Germany, and Germany won.
Perfect. So, Peter, what advantages do you see for your end customers with having the cooperation on digitalization of transformers? And can you already share feedback?
So basically, I believe everything goes somehow towards standardization. Also, we have heard that Tenet manager, he said even the transformer base shall be standardized, transformer shall be standardized. And in future, I believe also softwares or data shall be somehow standardized. So if we make good product, which the customer will find out it's good for their standard also, then we will make a solution which will be standardized somehow for us and for the customer. It means it will be more effective, at the end cheaper or less costly, and making a benefit for all of us. Yeah.
So this is a perfect follow-up question to that. How has the cooperation influenced your position in the marketplace? Have you seen an improvement with your position in the marketplace through the cooperation?
I will answer similar as before. The time passed hasn't been long enough really to say there is a big change.
Yeah.
At the end, I can say the difference with the new approach to the digitalization towards the one which we had before, I believe should bring some more positive effect also because the customer will see us as somebody who just collect the best you can get on the market and offer a package further.
So it's still a little bit too early, but you're starting to see the benefit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What's the benefit? I know we talked a little bit about training, but when you think about the benefit, not only for you, but for your end customers, what's the benefit of having trained people for that and investing the time and the energy and the money into having that training completed?
For sure, our people who went through this training have more knowledge about the digitalization in transformer business.
Yeah.
The second point is when they are asked by end customer what they suggest, they have some packages which are standardized and which they can explain.
Right.
Before, it was more or less asking each other and the solution maybe was not so optimal.
And what about on the service side? If you think about how you service your customers, not about even on the offer side, but the long term for the service side.
So our service team, which is mounting our transformers all around Europe and wider, will also come in January to MR, as it was described already. So they will come to the site to touch the devices, to see how it works, to see what to suggest or how to advise end customer, because they are at the end making also training for end customer.
Right.
How to use the transformer and how to operate it.
Okay.
So for me, this training will be one of most important.
Yeah.
Because until now, the trainings were concentrated how to sell it more or less.
Sure.
Now, this last training will be dedicated how to educate end customer to use it, what we offer.
Maybe a question related to the people that you look for when you're sourcing people for your company. So going to the market, you're hiring a job. Are you finding that you're changing to hire more digital natives into KOLEKTOR ETRA, where you recognize you need to pivot some of the knowledge into people that already have that digital background?
At this moment, I would say the situation on the human resource market is very difficult. So we are more or less all struggling getting enough good engineers, even for electrical design.
Yeah.
And especially if you add digitalization, today they are born with computers, so to say.
Yeah, it feels that way.
If I compare it to our time, I started on basic on computer.
Yeah.
It was completely different. But still, when you go deeper to digitalization, then you need really professionals. And we face, it's not easy to get them.
That's true. For all of us, that's true. And that question really leads into the next one, which is, how do you envision the future of transformer digitalization, and what plans does your company have in the next 3 to 5 years to make that vision a reality?
Digitalization definitely is a part of the future. Basic request from the customer is they want to have as many data as possible because of different sources of energy. So it's not like in the past, hydropower plant produced it, overhead lines transferred it, and the distribution delivered it to the end customer. Today, the flow is on both sides, and it's important which time, who is producing, where to deliver, who is importing, who is exporting. And this is so confused today that if you don't have enough data, you can lose a lot of money. And that's why the customers are looking to more and more digitalization because of collecting the data in real time.
When you think about that, do you think you'll have more digital features in the next 5 years versus what you have today? Or do you think the ratio of transformers that are fully digitalized will be much higher in 5 years than they are today?
I believe it can go only one direction, so it will be more and more digitalized. But as I said, important is also software.
Right.
So we are providing the data from transformer.
True.
But software shall be something what should be developed, how to use this data.
Looking at the experience that you've had, Peter, what personal impressions have you gained from working with Sebastian's team?
I would say that this cooperation, we found out something, as I mentioned already, as a partnership. So it's not so much buying and selling, but we need to find solution, both of us, support each other to make the end customer satisfied.
Yeah.
If we find this, then we did a job. If we don't find the common sense and partnership, then we will have big problem, because with this type of product, if you don't have good cooperation, if you don't understand each other very good, I can expect it can be a failure.
And maybe, Sebastian, the same question is impressions that you've had in working with Peter's team.
For me, it was very nice to see how, let's say, this relationship starting, and it was always a good relationship, but starting from a more like supplier-buyer relationship, it really evolved, and not only on, let's say, this side, but also the people, really getting to know the people and having these trainings. And then, let's say, the direct contact, you just call each other and clarify the topics. So everything gets more smooth and easier. And that was really also on the personal level, it was nice to see. And yeah, it's really like external colleagues kind of.
Yeah. You see how that relationship has matured over time, basically. Yes, Are there any special moments or anecdotes that you associate with the cooperation, Peter? So any moment that really sticks out in your mind as you've gone through the process of increasing the cooperation with MR?
I remember the first dinner which we had together at the evening. The atmosphere really opened itself.
Yeah.
So somehow people started becoming friends also, not only partners and looking of benefit of each other. You know, when we are buying and selling, you always negotiate. But this was a step higher. So we didn't negotiate so much as we tried to understand each other.
Well, especially if you were cheering for the German football club at the end of that meeting. I mean, that's definitely a closer relationship.
Of course, it was luckily that we didn't fight to each other.
Yeah, exactly. Well, any final words or advice, Peter, that you'd like to address to our listeners, being a transformer manufacturer, other transformer manufacturers or other end users?
Other manufacturers, they will decide how to go further. But I believe standardization of the digitalization will also be an issue in the future. So for the end customer, I believe that they should trust what we offer. And if we build this trust together, we can be stronger and it will be a benefit for the end user. And that's for me important, that they will like the product, they will accept it, and they will trust that we can serve them really good.
Anything for you to add, Sebastian?
Looking into the future, for me, it's really just continuing the good work and do it as we did it now in the past as well. Do it on the, let's say, on the level of the topics, optimizing processes and helping each other, but also, let's say, on the personal level. So it's fun, and I hope to continue it in this way.
Yeah, it's been really great to hear about the relationship and how it's developed over time. So thank you both. I want to thank you for joining us today for another episode of Power On. We invite you to go back and watch or listen to other episodes as well. I especially would like to thank Peter and Sebastian for joining me today for a terrific conversation on OEM cooperation in our industry. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Until the next episode, Power On.